We want to follow up from yesterday's
Yes.
big story that everyone seemed to
Yep.
be really engaged in, and that is that couple who bought that piece of property, or the street, if you will, in San Francisco.
Yep.
And then what happened this morning, Tina?
So a lot of you, we had more than 25,000 people watching us right after this ended yesterday. And I think for a lot of you, you were kind of split on who was to blame here. Well, we now know what happened. So these homeowners association folks went to the city. They asked, what the deal was going to be, if they were going to be able to get their street back or not. Backstory, a couple bought the street because the bill wasn't getting paid by the HOAs for a long time, but the residents who lived on the street didn't know that. The city voted in favor of the residents. So they get their street back. So I'm going to go through the facts and figures here with you. So
First,
bear with
were we
me.
surprised?
Not at all.
No? Were you surprised?
weren't you?
No. I think that this is wrong, but I'm not surprised that it went their way.
Right.
They're
Are you
rich
surprised?
and they're powerful, so they get what they want.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised, but go.
You are?
Yeah, I am a little
Okay.
surprised. We'll get into that.
Okay, so these two San Francisco folks,
I'm
investors,
stewing over here.
real estate investors.
Whose cup is this, by the way? Because I thought, are they both mine? Is this like yesterday's cup?
Maybe.
They both
It's
have
a little
lipstick.
gross.
I'm like, which one do we drink out of?
Should we put it up for auction and see who'll buy it?
You know what? I couldn't find my cup
What
this morning.
color is that? Oh, hold on, that's my color.
The same as yesterday.
I really have one of these.
I know, this was me. They're both mine. Anyways, which one's new, which is old? I don't know. Go do
Good luck. We'll see in 30 minutes how your stomach feels. Okay, so Tina Am
is
and her
freezing.
husband Michael Chang paid $90,000 for this street in San Francisco, right? It's in the Presidio district. Beautiful, very expensive neighborhood, multi-million-dollar houses in this private gated community. The city's Board of Supervisors last night gave the land back to the Homeowners Association. It was a 7-4 vote. So that's
So
what
it wasn't
happened.
close.
Wasn't close. It was available because the city auctioned it off for non-payment of taxes, $14 a year over many years. It ended up being like $1,000 in unpaid taxes, but they bought the land for $90,000. They say that the auction notice was sent out to an outdated address. So that's why these homeowners never heard about it. San Francisco's treasurer said the sale was legal, and it's up to a property owner to update mailing addresses and pay their taxes. So they were the treasurer was siding with the couple who bought the land. But Senator Dianne Feinstein, who used to live on that street, she's a big political heavyweight. She weighed in and said that she thought that the homeowners were in the right here and that they should get their street back. Also, a former homeowner. Oh. Hello, that was a little music. Said no homeowner in America should lose property at the hands of the government without knowing about it. That was from Feinstein.
Okay.
The two investors who brought the property are now expected to file an action against the city, stating that they are being penalized for others not knowing the law.
Right.
So that is where we stand today.
One, this is not over.
No
but
way.
think about this. Let's just say you stopped paying your car bill because you moved a couple times and it went to the wrong address and it was seized and sold at auction. You're not getting that car back. So, because you're not rich and powerful. That's just the way it works. So, this will be interesting because they're at an impasse. The city believes one thing, but the tax collector, they do this every day.
Right.
So, who's more of an expert? What your gut feeling is as a city a city council? I mean, we understand that this whole thing is kind of wrong in a couple of different ways, just how it played out. But this doesn't happen for anybody else. It doesn't, and that's where I have a problem with it, because if you're rich and powerful, you get away with this stuff all the time.
And they know it. That's my problem. This isn't the first time. Like I was saying yesterday, this happened back in 1985.
Right.
Same situation.
Right.
Why haven't you learned your lesson?
Right, because here's the thing. Obviously, they should have known about this, right? But the law isn't that way. That's why the sale was legal. No one's disputing that the sale is legal.
Right.
So, how do you change law? Do you do it by a city council vote at night?
No.
Because of opinions, people get up there in front of a microphone and you say, "Okay, we're gonna." It doesn't work that way
seems
because
as
the
though
city
it worked
council doesn't
this
write the
time.
laws.
For the interim, right?
Right.
Because like you say, it's not over, which is why I'm a bit surprised.
Right.
Because the rules are the rules are the rules are the rules. And
Right.
when it comes down to it, the couple did nothing wrong.
Right.
They just followed the rules. So they have everything going for them in this case,
Yeah.
I feel. In the end, they're either going to not get this at all.
Right.
Or they're going to come up, and because it's the law.
Right.
But I feel like it's just a slap on the wrist. That's all they're doing to these
Right.
rich homeowners. Okay, you made a boo-boo. Learn your lesson.
Right.
It's how hard they're willing to
Maybe
fight
hold
that
you
couple.
accountable
How
next time.
hard are they going to fight?
Yeah, and that's my problem with this, because this sets the precedence moving forward now. The way that the law works,
All these noises
when you have a court case and it goes to trial, the lawyers on both sides will bring up previous court cases to make their points, to prove innocence or guilt. That is what they do, is they go back in history to make a point. So now this precedence has been set. They're going to be able to say, hey, you let this group get away with it. If you don't let me, then that's not fair. Because, because they're rich, which is exactly what happened, but no one's going to say that part out loud. But really, that's what this is now, is it's creating this, standard where, okay, we can bend the rules a little bit here. So I think this opens up a can of worms. I don't think they should have ruled this way, only because of the fact that this can now turn into so much more down the road.
Yeah. Okay. If you own property, this is what this says. If you own property in San Francisco, okay, and you owe taxes on it, say you didn't get the bill, you never saw it, you didn't know about it, you won't have to pay it, and even if it gets auctioned off to somebody else and they legally have it, you can now go to the city council and say, hey, do you remember that whole thing? I want my property. I will pay the tax bill now, and I want my property back. And then whoever bought it, sorry, it's not going to work out for you. I understand that the homeowners are victims in this as well.
Right, they are.
Okay?
Yes,
because
they were paying their bills.
And obviously they could pay it. They didn't want any of this to
we all
happen.
agree on that.
Yeah, this is a bad situation. This is an ugly, bad situation. But I mean, these people, they bought it at auction. Can you imagine if somebody said, you did everything right, but we just don't agree with it, in our gut, so we're going to take it away from you.
Right. The second time. And I go back to what you were saying. Back
I don't
in the 80s,
understand that.
This happened.
Right. And at this point, if you're going to have a city council meeting to vote on anything, maybe enforce stricter regulations on the HOAs.
Right.
At least hold them accountable for their actions, because that's who got these people into the pickle in the first place.
Right. And something I also want to note, so the couple said most recently that they were planning on just holding on to it. We went back in a few articles ago when this all came out earlier in the year, and they did say at that time that they would consider renting parking spaces. If you remember, there were 100 spots.
Not a bad idea from a business perspective.
Absolutely. Parking in San Francisco is absolutely through the roof, and so if you can be in a gated community with really nice, beautiful homes, why wouldn't you want to park there? But going back in time, they said at one point that they would be willing to rent some of those 100 spaces. And so if the city had voted the other way and in favor of this couple, there still could have been a ton of hurdles in the way of this couple being able to do that. So if the fear was, well, what are they going to do to the road and what are they going to do to the street? At some point, the city would have had to approve the public parking policy. They could have stopped it there. I mean, there's other things they could have done to approve this sale, but stopped them in their
make
tracks.
it right for the people.
Yes,
the
exactly,
people
to make
who
it
live
right for the
on
homeowners.
Do you think, and this is just me thinking just outside of the box here, do you think that looking back, when this situation all went down, when the couple first bought this piece of land, do you think if they wouldn't have said anything as to what they might want to do down the road, if they wouldn't have put that little bug in the homeowner's ears saying, we may open this street up and maybe, rent some spaces out for parking, they instilled that fear, whether they knew it or not?
What else are they going to do? Exactly. Create tours.
Well, like they're saying.
Drive on by.
They think it's cool to have this piece of property. They know it's cool and it's making them money because over time it's going to just go up in price for them. So I think, do you think if you were to start this conversation over again, the couple should not have said what they were going to do, and then maybe they wouldn't be in this situation? Because if they did everything by the book, then why would anything be taken away from that? I feel as though it's the fear that's allowed the city council to say, okay, because of the things you could do, because you've said these are the things you could do, this is making the homeowners feel a certain way.
Wait, why is it so different for these people?
It's just playing the game. I'm just wondering, how do you play the game? How do you play the game and come up?
Let's just say this. Let's just say it's not this husband and wife couple. Let's just say it's some obscure property management LLC, whatever, some nameless thing. I mean, I don't think that they would have the same reaction to them because they know that these people, if it comes down to a big legal fight, they probably can't go on forever. There's going to be a point at which they give up. Versus if it were a big company that had a legal force behind it, I think the city council probably would stay away from this.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like the big and the powerful against this couple that legally bought it. I understand it's a weird way that it happened, but everyone loses.
But to answer
they somehow made it that everybody loses.
Yeah, to answer your question though, I would say even if they hadn't gone on and said what they might do with the property, I still think the speculation would have been, a couple's buying our street, this opens it
are
up
they
to
gonna do?
what? Like, I think the fear would have been there regardless if they said anything out loud, in my opinion. I think that the homeowners association still would have got wind of it and been like, oh my God, what can they do? What is the potential?
Just wondering if they gave I'm just wondering if they gave the city council some leverage to say,
maybe.
this is what we're going to do because this is what you said. Go
But you said everyone is a loser in this situation. I don't think so. I think the people in the town surrounding who could benefit from, say, a Christmas light show, or maybe
Whatever
the
they
couple
want. A food
offering
truck.
up the sidewalk.
A food truck party.
Anything. Putting
Party.
seats on the sidewalk. Hey guys, enjoy this beautiful light show in $1 Million Row.
Any way to make the cheddar. Yeah. They could sell
It's an
tickets.
idea.
That's
Give me a
not-
little portion.
We have a ton of comments,
Okay,
so can
shall
I
we
bring
get to
some
them?
in?
Yes.
Okay, Jacqueline Champ, hello. Thank you for joining us
What's
this
that,
morning.
Jacqueline?
She says the couple didn't have a shot. Money will always be able to buy off the right people, and the rules don't apply to them. This is the
what
second
Rob is
time.
saying.
I'm sure there will be a third. Also, Joanne Walt Williams. Hi, Joanne says neighborhoods should get their houses back, but they need to pay the city what they owe. Sometimes important high position people are the worst people to pay utility bills, taxes. People pay your taxes. Yeah, I
What do you
agree.
mean get the houses back? No one took their houses,
Right,
right?
it was just the
It was
street.
just
Yeah,
the street in
their
front
street
of
back.
the home.
Their street back,
Just to
yeah.
clear, to clear that up.
Christian Cavallo, I would have
yeah.
offered to sell the property back at 1,000% profit, right? But they weren't even given the option to sell it back. It was
Right.
taken back. They weren't given the option of saying,
That's a problem.
let's sell it back to you if you really want it. We got it fair and square. No, this happened before that process could have taken place.
This tax collector has got a big issue on their hands because that's what they do every day. And now the city can overrule them on a case-by-case basis
Right.
on what they think.
And now what's that relationship going to
Exactly.
be like?
I mean, this is not over. I wouldn't be surprised if it went in either direction because honestly, I'm not a lawyer and all this stuff. This is just my observation as a lowly weatherman. but I just
amazing
I'm a
meteorologist.
citizen. I'm a citizen.
Emmy Award winning.
Yes,
Ooh.
meteorologist.
I'm a
scientist.
citizen that has empathy for the couple that legally did something and it got taken away from them because
Not right.
the homeowners, which are also victims in this, have friends in right places. It could go either way. It broke for the rich people. Big surprise. Makes me mad.
Yeah.
Because
Talk
it doesn't
about it,
break.
Rob.
It doesn't break.
Get it
It
out.
doesn't
Well-
break for the other people.
Mark Kumelis agrees with you, says, Rob, you are 100% right. The previous owners
I can't even do that with the weather.
the previous owners don't deserve the land back. They don't deserve the land back.
They don't.
Susie,
I don't know
you
if
think
so-
this is boring and sad? Well, thank you for sticking around and watching us.
if everyone
I love
feels like,
you.
okay, this is a bad situation, we don't want this to ever happen again, then change the law.
Right.
Then change
Did
the law.
you-
Say, okay, this is the moment where we didn't really tick all the boxes. This isn't a complete understanding. There is some empathy for the homeowners as well. You got to make it right. And at this point, the people that bought the land, I think there's a bit of a loophole how they got it. But you know what? Loopholes can be legal.
Yeah.
And they
This
took
one is.
advantage of it.
Well, and
But
Reggie,
because-
You're getting Reggie Cepeda
Yes.
said it is a bad situation.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So Reggie says, bad situation, the new owners bought it legally, just wrong taking it from them. The city should have used eminent domain and made something positive with it, like a dog park or memorial spot
The
or
street?
parking. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's saying, you know, that they got it and the city could have said, okay,
We're
you
gonna
have
pay you
it,
to- we're gonna pay
but
you to get out,
But we're
to get out of the
or they
situation.
could have said, okay, you have it, but now you have to do X, Y, and Z with it.
Can
But
you
eminent domain,
imagine?
but that is important because he's right. I do agree with that because they deserve
Okay.
the money,
Uh-huh.
if not more than what they paid for it. They paid for a piece of property. It's just
Right.
to me, it's just like 101. You paid
Right.
for
Yeah.
something, it is yours. If someone else wants it, whether they want it back, but which it was never theirs because why was it up for auction? So if the HOA wants this piece of property back, you got to pay for it. You got to pay for it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this much: the people that live there, they don't want the city owning that
No.
street
Oh, of course
because
not.
then
What's worse, right?
then it's a public street.
Exactly.
So now
But
they're
then
gonna have
they
to.
may put parking
Yeah, they're gonna
spots.
have to deal with
I wanna hear
parking
from the
and no
homeowner.
gate and all that stuff.
Right?
I want to hear from one
I
of the
want to hear from the
homeowners.
couple. I want to know how far they're going to take this. I think this is a
Yeah.
good
I don't think
because
it's over.
what they do depends.
Oh.
We did hear from. Okay, let's take this interview from the.
Oh, this is from one of the buyers of the land then,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Tina?
Is this from the couple that bought the land, or is this from one of the homeowners? Okay, this is from Tina. Okay, just take a listen.
Yeah, let's listen.
Me to have an opportunity to own any kind of property in San Francisco, that is my American dream.
Okay, she's the
wife
of
the couple that bought the land.
The couple that bought the land, exactly. Okay, interesting here. Everyone commenting still?
Okay, can you imagine spending $90,000 for something and then you just get it taken away from you?
Right.
And
No,
everyone,
I can't.
and they're like, why?
I would fight.
It's legal, right? Yeah, it's totally
yeah.
legal, but sorry, you just can't have it.
Yeah. No.
So here's your money back. We're going to take that street.
It's not the way the world works.
And the attorney
But
for
it is
street
the way.
purchasers,
But it is the way.
the attorney for street
work.
purchasers, the couple who bought it said, so does that mean that when you live on one of the most exclusive streets in San Francisco and you are wealthy and politically connected, you get a different system than the rest of us?
It's exactly
it
what
does
happened.
seem that way.
Yes.
That's what appears happened.
But honestly, if you're in a gated community and you turn this into pay for parking, you got to get out through the gates. It just seems inconvenient. Yeah, you can look at beautiful houses, but really, do you want to park there?
Well,
Yes,
I would rather
because
park
in San
there than
Francisco,
park in the sketchy part of town or not have a place to park at all.
That's the thing.
The
Parking,
availability.
there are lists for parking in San Francisco. I know you haven't been in
no.
the area very long, but there are lists.
Does that have me school you?
Not just,
No, but
not
seriously.
to school you,
I've
just
never
to
been there.
inform you
Yeah.
that parking is so hard to come by,
Okay.
and to get a parking spot when you have an apartment is never a guarantee. You usually almost always have to buy a spot in a garage or a private spot or a
Okay.
street permit. And so to have your car parked in a gated community would be a primo position for you to
Heck
be in.
yeah, but I mean, of course, if the idea of how am I going to get in and get out every day, of course, I
Right.
would imagine that the parking spot comes with the remote control to the gate, but how do they get past the
The
HOA
gate's
to
connected
provide
to the
them?
sidewalk, which they own, so maybe they take the gate out. Maybe they don't make it a private street
This
anymore.
kind
Like,
of
who
doesn't
knows?
seem like a malicious
What does that
couple,
do
like
to
they're
the
trying to
property
make
values of those houses if they then remove the gate?
Which is part of what
have
I'm
this
sure their
parking?
argument is.
Security too, yeah.
Okay,
I know.
imagine.
But again, it's not the couple's fault.
Okay, imagine this. Ready? Imagine this. There's a vacant spot of land, right?
Okay.
Someone didn't pay taxes on it. It goes to auction. Somebody buys that property legally, and they want to put up a liquor store. Well, surrounding that is, say, a preschool. And they say, hey, we don't want this. I guarantee you they would say, sorry, this is going in because of whatever. I mean, it's
No.
different. Yeah, I guarantee you this stuff happens all the time.
I've been to plenty of city hall meetings, or not city council meetings, where they would shut that down so quickly.
Well, okay, maybe that was a bad example. what I'm saying, or whatever. Maybe not
Yeah,
a
I
liquor
guarantee
store,
it.
or maybe just something else that the
Yeah.
preschool wouldn't want there, right? Or what have you. I mean, just be the homeowners nearby. I mean, it's not their land anymore. It's so what happens to it? They can voice their opinion, but to have it overturned by the city council by a huge margin, I mean, I think that's the story. It wasn't even close.
Yeah,
So
7-4.
So if so many people feel this way for this couple, and obviously so many feel the other way, I just don't know how the city council is just totally on board with just taking property back from people that bought it. That's to me is really surprising.
And they're hoping that this story just goes under the wayside and just like goes away
Yeah, no.
because they know, I'm sure that this, if they were in that couple's, you have to put yourself in that couple's, shoes.
Right.
Right.
If you had just done this and invested in a piece of land and then it was taken away from you for no good reason, really, then how would you react?
Right.
Well, just like this, before we wrap it up, you get pulled over for speeding, and the officer says you were going 70 and it's 65. Oh, well, I didn't know the speed limit.
Right.
So I shouldn't get the ticket? Because you didn't
Right.
know the law?
Well,
I
they
would
say
love to
that.
get away with
That's
that.
kind of a similar
You
analogy.
go to court for
right?
stuff, the judge will tell you first thing, ignorance is no excuse for the law.
Right.
And that's why
'cause
this
they
couple
don't-
is filing
everyone's
against
got,
the
look,
city.
Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got, I was looking down, the radio was too loud. I mean, whatever. At some point, you just have to say, look. And again, this is different from how I usually am. I'm usually,
Yeah,
the
you're
laws,
usually- yes.
whatever.
This is very
But,
different.
I
but I'm
know.
just very,
It is.
I have a
with
lot of
Rob on
empathy.
this.
I have a lot of empathy for this couple.
You also really are interested in real estate. You
Am I?
not in buying
Well,
it,
like
but in
land.
stories around it.
Like
and
the story
land.
we talked
Yeah.
about in Vacaville.
With the county
With
lines.
the county
Yeah,
lines.
yeah.
I don't know.
He gets
He's your
I need
real
a new
estate guy.
hobby.
Informed citizen. I like
Yes.
it. I
And
like
he's all
it.
for the people.
Informed.
You're all for the underdog in a situation.
Yeah.
Maybe
because
that's what
if
it
it's,
is.
it's
You are.
in this case, we're talking about people across the board.
Right.
This is
Yeah.
all about people, but this is richer people who have maybe more of the because they know people in higher places versus people who did the right thing. And when we talk about airlines, it goes the people, as in those passengers, versus the airline, and you see that as like a big corporation. So
Yeah.
I'm understanding your trend.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I lived along the coast for a long time, and I
Yes.
saw a similar type of thing take place so many different times, which is people that have a lot of money, they buy land on the coast, and then there will be a path to access the beach, and it's a public pathway, and it's been there forever.
Yep.
And then they go and they throw up a gate and say, you can't come by my property anymore. This is my beach. You see it in Malibu, you see it in Carpinteria, you see it in Santa Barbara. You see,
I just saw that in San Diego.
Yeah, you see it all over the place. In Martins Beach by Half Moon Bay, same situation. So my interest in all this has to do with that because I grew up surfing, and
Well, do you think that's right or wrong?
Well, it's clearly wrong, and the problem is that you can tie it up for long enough, and eventually it does get opened back up. You cannot block a public pathway to the beach.
But you
But
can't
isn't
stop
that
people
access to
from,
the
but you
beach.
can stop people from parking there. You know what I mean? There
Right.
are
But
things.
you can't.
There's ways around it.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's an established path for a number of years in a certain piece of property, then it becomes public property, and it's a right of way. Like, you cannot block access to the ocean, which is.
But unless you know, if you don't have things that says, oh, is this the property of 266 Sandstone
Exactly.
Drive? You
Right.
know, like, you don't know.
It was
You
the same
see
thing
a fence there.
when we were in Kauai and we wanted to go to the little one-off, little how you get into the beach, but it's through people's property, at least the side of their
Right.
homes. And it took us directly to someone's house. We can't touch that because it's the address, but the street that you can legally get onto so that you can walk down to the beach. But I did feel a sense of like, these people, in order to afford a piece of property like this, I imagine worked really hard in life, or at least was given the money. I mean, at some point, like, you earned that piece of property, you should be able to do what you want with it.
Right, but there's some limits, which is if there's an established path to the beach, then you have to keep it in there.
This
You have
happened
to-
in
you
New
can't-
Jersey.
Okay, so this is something that happens everywhere.
Yeah.
So tell me about what happened there.
Super expensive houses, beach properties. There was a path to the beach. Honestly, the public wanted access to the entire beach, and the community said, no way. We pay taxes for this land, and they were like, the other people said, we pay taxes too.
Yeah,
It's not just your land.
Right.
But they stood their ground, and you can't get on that land.
Really?
Stood
When I-
their ground.
Another summer vacation was to the Jersey Shore, and it was a little different than it is down in SoCal when you go to the beach. Is that Marcus Allenband? I'm like,
We
I'm
have
so
7
jumpy.
minutes.
We have 7 minutes. Well, we couldn't get onto the beach until
Beach tax?
we had to pay
Yep.
to get onto the
Oh, yeah.
beach.
It's a very Jersey Shore thing.
Is that a very Jersey Shore
It
thing?
is. You
I
have to
was
have
like,
your
is
little beach tag to get on the beach. $7
I'm
sometimes.
like, isn't that public
Wow.
property? That's what I assumed.
No, but the maintenance of the beach, you have to pay the lifeguards.
You go down to SoCal, you can go to Huntington,
that
you
cute
can
little
go anywhere
truck
you
that
want.
drives down and cleans it, all the cigarettes
It
off.
wasn't that clean.
No.
Oh, yeah, there's
Huntington,
that too.
Newport, all of those, Wakeland, anywho. Okay, shall we move on?